Why did Asa's reign end the way it did? This is the question we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 2 Chronicles on Walking Through the Bible.
Of His word, the glory of His cross.
Today we're going to be discussing 2 Chronicles chapter 16, verses 1 to 14. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 2 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 1. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 2 Chronicles chapter 16, beginning verse 1. In the 36th year of the reign of Asa, Baasha, king of Israel, came up against Judah and built Ramah, that he might let none go out or come in to Asa, king of Judah. Then Asa brought silver and gold from the treasuries of the house of the Lord and of the king's house, and sent to Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, who dwelt in Damascus, saying, Let there be a treaty between you and me, as there was between my father and your father. See, I have sent you silver and gold. Come break your treaty with Baasha, king of Israel, so that he will withdraw from me. So Ben-Hadad heeded King Asa, and sent the captains of his armies against the cities of Israel. They attacked Ijon, Dan, Abel-maim, and all the storage cities of Naphtali. Now it happened, when Baasha heard it, that he stopped building Ramah and ceased his work. Then King Asa took all Judah, and they carried away the stones and timber of Ramah, which Baasha had used for building, and with them he built Geba and Mizpah. And at that time Hanani the seer came to Asa king of Judah, and he said to him, Because you have relied on the king of Syria, and have not relied on the Lord your God, therefore the army of the king of Syria has escaped from your hand. Were the Ethiopians and Lubim not a huge army with very many chariots and horsemen? Yet because you relied on the Lord, he delivered them into your hand. For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show himself strong on behalf of those whose heart is loyal to him. In this you have done foolishly. Therefore, from now on you shall have wars. Then Asa was angry with the seer, and put him in prison, for he was enraged at him because of this. And Asa oppressed some of the people at that time. Note that the acts of Asa, first and last, are indeed written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. And in the 39th year of his reign, Asa became diseased in his feet, and his malady was severe. Yet in his disease he did not seek the Lord, but the physicians. So Asa rested with his fathers. He died in the 41st year of his reign. They buried him in his own tomb, which he had made for himself in the city of David. And they laid him in the bed, which was filled with spices and various ingredients prepared in a mixture of ointments. They made a very great burning for him. The last verse of chapter 15, as well as the first verse of chapter 16, presents a problem. Not a problem at first glance, but a problem if you go back and do the timeline. We've already noted that Asa began to reign in around 911 BC. This was in the 20th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel. From our study of 1 Kings, we noted that Nadab, Jeroboam's son, reigned over Israel for 2 years, much of it co-regent with his father, before Baasha, part of the army, assassinated Nadab and took over reigning as the third king of Israel, but the first from the second dynasty. That means that Baasha began to reign in about 909 BC, or in about the second or third year of Asa. Now, Baasha only reigned for 24 years, meaning that he only reigned until the 26th or 27th year of Asa. That means that what the chronicler describes here could not have happened in the 36th year of Asa. Instead, it must have occurred during the 26th year, and what we have here is a later copyist error, which is totally reasonable to conclude, for the events that occur here help explain why Baasha only reigned for 24 years. What the chronicler gives us is one of the few times where the actions of the king of Israel are focused on, but only by way of introduction to help explain the actions of the king of Judah. What we find described to us here at the beginning of chapter 16 is Baasha coming up against Judah and fortifying Ramah in Benjamin in order to isolate Jerusalem and blockade the capital from the north. Now, why would Baasha want to do this? Well, we already read earlier that during the reign of Asa, the north had been experiencing an exodus of citizens to Judah since they saw that the Lord was with Judah. So again, while we say that on the whole Israel had become hard-hearted and unrepentant of their idolatry, let's not assume like Elijah that nobody in Israel cared about true worship, for there were those who did. So in order to stop this exodus, Baasha decided to blockade one of the main ways to get to Jerusalem from Israel, which was Ramah in Benjamin, the same city where Samuel the prophet lived. Now, of course, this provocative move worried Asa, so much so that he used up the treasuries of the house of the Lord and of the king's house in order that he might make a treaty with Ben-Hadad, who was king of Syria at the time. Why might Ben-Hadad have listened to Asa? Well, for one, he was being paid a lot of money. But second, there had been a treaty in the past between the kings of Judah that came before Asa and the kings of Syria that came before Ben-Hadad. We don't know if this is referring to the early period of the days of Solomon or some treaty since then, but needless to say, some sort of treaty existed in the past that both Ben-Hadad and Asa knew about, which Asa hoped would win Ben-Hadad over. The problem for Ben-Hadad was that he had a treaty with Baasha that would need to be broken if he was to hearken to the pleas of Asa. That's where the money sweetened the deal. For Ben-Hadad did help Asa out and attacked Israel in the cities in the north, highlighted on the screen now. Baasha had to thus turn his attention back to his own territory in order to prevent from being overthrown, and so he abandoned his in Ramah. Now, from our study of 1 Kings, we learned that it is soon after this that Baasha will die, leading to a tumultuous 6 years in Israel's history, events that were all precipitated by Baasha's actions here with Asa. With the threat of Israel now diminished, the chronicler then tells us that Asa took away all the stones and timber Baasha used to fortify Ramah and used it to build up Geba and Mizpah in Benjamin, two cities we've seen in the past in our Old Testament studies, especially during the days of Samuel and Saul. This entire event thus far has largely been a repeat of what we studied in 1 Kings 15. However, 2 Chronicles 16 verses 7 to 10 gives us something that we didn't get from 1 Kings: God's reaction to Asa's actions. For God himself sent Hananiah the seer to Asa to tell him of this. And what Asa learned was that the Lord was none too pleased. Why? Asa didn't trust in the Lord for deliverance from Baasha. Back in chapter 14, Judah trusted in God, and God delivered them from the 1,000,000-man army of Zerah the Ethiopian. Why then was Asa afraid of Baasha of Israel, a king who was evil in the sight of the Lord, and one whom the Lord could easily deliver Asa and Judah out of? Asa didn't seek God's help, instead seeking it with Ben-Hadad of Syria so that Syria would deliver Judah from Baasha's hand. There was just one problem with Asa's calculation, though. He only took God out of the picture, but it also didn't allow God to deliver an even bigger victory for Judah had they trusted in him. You see, remember, Syria had a treaty with Israel. Should Israel have attacked Judah and Judah began to prevail, Israel would likely have sought help from Syria. And had Syria come, God would have delivered both Israel and Syria into Judah's hands. At this time, Syria was a rising in the region and would become a thorn in the side of both Israel and Judah until the rise of the Assyrians some 150 years later. By taking the quick way out, Asa acted short-sightedly, and because of that, God was not going to deliver Syria into Judah's hands, but would allow them to wage war against Judah in the future. All because Asa decided not to trust God in the beginning, but choosing to place his faith in the alliances of men, alliances that could be broken given the right circumstances, like more money. Now Asa could have been like David, and when rebuked immediately repented, but he didn't. He got angry with the seer and threw him into prison, oppressing some of the people along with him, who likely would have wanted to heed the seer's warning. That is the fault of Asa later in his reign. He may never have left serving God for serving idols, but he didn't trust in the Lord like he did at the beginning of his reign. Even later in his reign, when he became severely diseased in the feet, he did not seek after the Lord, choosing to place his faith in doctors. Now from this, let's not take it to mean that we shouldn't see doctors or even take the medicines that may be prescribed, for God can work through doctors. But let's also not cut God out of the picture. Let's be fervent in prayer, knowing that our health ultimately depends on God. Let's be willing to place our trust in the Lord and let his will be done, no matter what that will is. That's what Asa did not do. He put all his faith in doctors and none on God, and wouldn't you know it, the doctors didn't heal him. And eventually Asa died, having reigned over Israel for 41 years. Thus the latter part of Asa's reign was not like the first, all because Asa's trust in the Lord, though not fully abandoned, had waned. This is a warning for us too. Sure, we may not fully leave the Lord, But do we trust him in all things? Are we praying for his guidance, his grace, his mercy, and his will to be done? Are we willing to accept what that will is, even if we don't fully understand it? Being a Christian is more than simply obeying a set of laws, a set of thou shalts and thou shalt nots. It is trusting in the Lord with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. To be always able to say, no matter what my lot in life may be, it is well with my soul. Let's not leave our study of Asa's life believing that he won't ultimately be saved by God come the judgment day. The scriptures don't tell us that Asa became evil or that he departed from the Lord, so let's not assume that. Spiritually weak people will be in heaven by God's grace. Asa later in life seems to fit into that category, one who never lost his faith in God, one who for whatever reason allowed his faith to weaken in the God that was able to deliver him. As for the historical context, Asa's 41-year reign would take us down to about 870 BC. Asa saw Israel's first 7 kings in the north, a testament to the stability in Judah and in the instability in Israel due to her idolatry. The final king to reign during Asa's reign would be the infamous Ahab, along with Jezebel, his wife. Remember his name, for it will come up later in our study of 2 Chronicles. When Asa died, Jehoshaphat, his son, reigned in his place. We'll see the beginning of his reign, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 2 Chronicles chapter 17, verses 1 to 19, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.